Imagine waking up in ancient Egypt with a question that could change your entire life. There is no pharmacy, no plastic test, and no digital screen waiting to give you an answer. Instead, someone hands you two small bags of seeds and tells you to urinate on them. The strange part is not that this sounds unusual. The strange part is that a version of it may have actually worked. Around 1350 BCE, an Egyptian medical text described a test using wheat and barley. A woman was instructed to water the seeds with her urine over several days. If the barley sprouted first, the text associated the result with a male child. If the wheat sprouted first, it associated the result with a female child. If neither grew, the woman was considered not pregnant. Today, the method sounds like a mixture of medicine, farming, and prophecy, but it was not simply a random ritual. The Egyptians had noticed the pattern, even though they had no idea what hormones were or why urine might carry information about the body. Centuries later, researchers tested the idea. They found that urine from pregnant women could encourage seed growth more often than urine from non-pregnant women or men. The pregnancy part had a biological clue hidden inside it. The prediction about the baby's sex did not. So how could an ancient test stumble toward real science while still getting the headline answer wrong? First, notice what the test is really doing. It is not looking directly at a fetus. It is using seeds as living sensors. A seed may look dormant, almost lifeless, but inside it is a small biological system waiting for the right conditions. Add water, warmth, and enough energy, and the seed begins to germinate. The dry grain splits open. A root appears. Then a green shoot pushes upward. For someone in ancient Egypt, that transformation would have been easy to observe. You did not need a laboratory. You only needed seeds, liquid, and time. The method also made practical sense in its world. Wheat and barley were not exotic materials. They were central crops, familiar to nearly everyone. People understood that seeds responded to water, soil, and seasons. The idea that the body might leave a signal in urine was not impossible within that framework. Think of it like using a plant as a very simple alarm system. You cannot see the invisible condition directly, so you watch for a visible response. If the seed changes, something in the liquid may be affecting it. Of course, the test was not precise by modern standards. Germination also depends on seed quality, temperature, moisture, contamination, and timing. A bad batch of grain could produce a misleading result. So could soil conditions, illness, or an ordinary delay in sprouting. Still, the basic reasoning was surprisingly strong. Find a measurable response, repeat the observation, and connect the response to a hidden condition. That is the first rabbit hole. Ancient medicine did not always begin with an explanation. Sometimes it began with noticing that one ordinary thing seemed to happen after another. But the real question is what, exactly, the seeds were responding to. Pregnancy changes the body in many ways. Some of those changes involve hormones, which are chemical messengers that help coordinate processes throughout the body. One important hormone in pregnancy is human chorionic gonadotropin, usually called HCG. It is produced after an embryo begins to attach to the lining of the uterus. Modern pregnancy tests detect HCG in urine because the hormone can pass from the bloodstream into the urine. The ancient Egyptians did not know the name HCG. They were not measuring it with a strip of treated paper. But the larger idea is similar. A major change inside the body can leave a chemical trace outside it. You can think of urine as a kind of report your body sends out. It is not a complete biography, and it does not explain everything, but it contains clues about what is happening inside. Modern tests use carefully designed chemicals to detect one particular clue. The ancient method used seeds and waited to see whether they responded. The pregnancy result and the sex prediction were not equally supported. Later studies found that which seed sprouted first did not reliably predict the baby's sex. Its performance was no better than chance. That distinction matters. A method can contain one real signal and one invented interpretation. The fact that the seeds sometimes responded to pregnancy-related chemistry does not make the barley versus wheat prediction true. Why would the prediction survive? Because humans naturally look for meaning inside patterns. If barley sprouted first and a baby later turned out to be male, the result would feel confirmed. If the prediction failed, it might be explained away as poor seeds, bad timing, or an unusual pregnancy. This is related to confirmation bias, the tendency to notice and remember evidence that supports what you already believe more readily than evidence that challenges it. Imagine keeping a notebook of weather predictions but only recording the days you got right. After a month, you might feel like a weather genius. The seed test also gave people a simple story. Barley was associated with one outcome, wheat with another. A complicated biological future became a visible contest between two familiar crops. That is emotionally powerful. Waiting is difficult, especially when the answer matters. A visible sprout gives uncertainty a shape. It turns an invisible process into a small daily drama. Check the barley, check the wheat, wait for the first green sign. Here is where the story becomes bigger than ancient Egypt. Whenever you face uncertainty, you may prefer a weak answer to no answer at all. A horoscope, a superstition, a lucky object, or an online symptom search can feel comforting because it turns "I don't know" into something you can interpret. That does not mean every tradition is foolish. It means the mind dislikes an unfinished story. It reaches for patterns, even when pattern is unreliable. The Egyptians may have discovered a genuine biological clue, then wrapped it in a prediction their evidence could not support. The first part was observation. The second part was storytelling. And honestly, that combination still appears everywhere in modern life. A modern pregnancy test looks simple, but it represents a major change in how humans handle uncertainty. Instead of watching a seed grow for days, you use a chemical strip designed to react with a specific hormone. The test does not ask the body to tell a story. It asks a narrower question: is HCG present above the test's detection level? That narrowness is its strength. The test does not try to predict personality, the future, or the child's sex. It detects one biological marker. The result is limited, but the limit makes it useful. In that sense, the journey from seeds to test strips is not only a story about scientific progress, it is a story about learning to separate what you can observe from what you merely hope the observation means. The ancient Egyptian test was neither pure superstition nor modern science in disguise. It was something more human, a rough observation carrying both a real clue and a false conclusion. The seed may have responded to chemistry. The barley versus wheat prediction was still a coin flip. Here is the line to remember: a pattern can be real even when the story built around it is wrong. That is why this ancient test matters. It shows that science does not begin only when someone has the right vocabulary. It can begin when someone notices a repeatable change and asks whether it means something. But science also requires the discipline to test every part of the claim, not just the part that feels satisfying, not just the prediction that people remember. The next time you hear an old remedy or a viral claim, you do not have to accept it whole or reject it whole. You can separate the pieces. What was actually observed? What was added later as an explanation? Which part was tested? Which part only survived because people remembered the successes? That way of thinking is useful far beyond pregnancy tests. It helps you examine stories about personality, luck, health, relationships, and your own memories. You may discover that an idea contains a small truth surrounded by a much larger myth. The ancient Egyptians did not possess modern diagnostic tools, but they understood something important. The body can reveal hidden changes through visible effects. Modern science took that insight further by replacing symbolic interpretation with controlled testing. The result is less dramatic than waiting for barley or wheat to sprout, but it is far more precise. So the remarkable part is not that ancient people somehow invented a modern pregnancy test. They did not. The remarkable part is that thousands of years ago, they noticed that biology leaves traces, and they tried to listen. Which part surprises you more? That the seed test may have detected pregnancy, or that its prediction about the baby's sex was no better than chance? Share your answer, and subscribe for more stories where ancient ideas meet modern psychology and science.